Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of The Bullet. My name is Paul Lathrop. I'm the Deputy Director of New Media for the Second Amendment Foundation. Joining me today is straight from the Rundown and also from his Saturday show, Arms Room Radio, Mike Piwowarski. And Mike seems to have frozen up there a little bit.
Oh, something's going on funny. This is not right.
Yeah, because your
Yeah,
screen
perfect.
is frozen with you looking down.
Yeah, that's weird. Let me refresh here real quick, Paul, and I'll rejoin you in a moment. How about that?
Sounds good to me. And there he goes. So I'm going to put, now he's back. Let me see if we can get, there we go. All right. As we get started, and this is you're watching the sausage get made, folks. This is how it really works. With the exception of you don't see the sweat rolling down my back as the panic starts to build.
Ugh.
But as we get started, if you want to comment on the show, as always, if you're watching on the Polite Society podcast, Facebook or YouTube feeds, go ahead and comment there on the live video. If you're watching anywhere else, on OpsLens or anywhere else that picks us up, because we're on multiple Facebook pages, both through OpsLens and through us, just go ahead and go to Twitter and tweet with the hashtag #TheBullet. We'll get those just as quickly, and we'll get those comments on the air as well. Let me get social media hooked up here. There we go. And Facebook is live, and let's take a look at, we're getting check-ins. So, very cool. Let's get started with Mike. We've got, let me get over to my show notes this time. I love leading with good news, and we've got good news today. Nancy Pelosi is stepping down as leader of the Democrats in the House. She's not going to be the minority leader. She's not going to be in the House leadership at all. And then in 2024, when the seat she just won in San Francisco is up for re-election again, she's not running. So if I had digital rights for the Spinner song "Na Na 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 Hey 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 Goodbye," that would be playing as a loop today.
There we go. We could do a little karaoke version of it. You ready? Acapella version. Acapella karaoke.
Nobody wants to hear me sing, and I mean nobody.
How old is she? What is she?
82?
82. Okay, that's right. So let's see if she lives through this term first. And listen, I wish no ill will upon someone's health, but she's 82. That's a big number. That's not 62, 52, or anything like that. That's a big number up there. So let's see how she does. And let's see if she can keep her mental, capabilities about her, because we've seen that in the past. How many times have we seen her standing there on a committee or answering questions, and she gives an answer one direction, and then the staffer leans in and she gives the opposite answer because she has no idea what she's talking about. It's kind of a trend in the Democrat Party here recently. But it's she's out of office. I mean, it really makes sense, Paul. I'm sorry, she's out of the leadership office. It's a good time for her to step away. Honestly, I don't think now that she's not going to be propped up and be anything but one of their 210 some odd votes, that they're she's not going to be needed there as much anymore anyway. So let's see if she even makes it through the term. I bet she has old Governor Mussolini appoint somebody in her position. That way they can already dictate who the next representative from the greater San Francisco area will be.
Not that we're going to get anybody much better. I mean...
Oh, no. Hopefully younger, right? Because I'd rather see somebody up there argue their point and know what they're talking about, as opposed to, getting on in years and the memory's not what it used to be, and they're just doing what somebody's whispering in their ear. So I'd rather not see a Democrat in there at all, but, it's San Francisco. Unless we go through some sort of a purge there, it's not going to change.
Or the earthquake we've been promised for 30 years that sends that part of California into the ocean.
That's right. Then we can have a mermaid from that district.
And I was just curious, I Googled while you were starting there, what is Joe Biden's age? As of today, he's 79 years old. He turns 80 in 3 days.
Listen, some people just handle the age better. I mean, call it city miles or highway miles, whatever you want. You hear a President Trump speak, a former President Trump speak, just because they're the same age. I'm not even talking about politics. He's the same age. We hear him speak a lot at the same age, and the guy's coherent. Now, you may not like what he says, but he's coherent, as opposed to what we have sitting in the White House, and that's wackadoo land going on there.
Yes, yes. And DJ is playing right off that. Trump is only like 6 to 8 years younger, and what he thought we thought he was nah. So yeah, I don't know. Let's there's the other elephant in the room. A couple days ago, we got the word that Trump is officially running for president again. Is he the best choice for Republicans? I don't know. Is he the worst? Certainly not.
Yeah, definitely not. Listen, and you and I have talked about this on here before. I honestly believe that Governor DeSantis, Captain Florida, as we call him down here, will not enter the race. He's going to take the high ground. He knows that if he stays out of the race now, the odds are Republicans will rule for 12 years as opposed to just 8. So let Trump have this next one. Perhaps even when Trump wins the nomination, DeSantis comes aboard as the running mate. And that way, DeSantis actually gets 12 years in the White House, and maybe President Trump stays past 2 years. Maybe he goes the full 4. Either way, you got an incumbent vice president sitting there to take the next election, and it's darn hard to beat an incumbent. That's for sure.
Yes, it is. It is that. And I got to say, the word has been circulating hot and heavy around my home state of South Dakota. About another possible vice presidential pick for Trump, and that would be our own Governor Kristi Noem. I hope that is not the case. Although that is honestly, if Noem's going to make the presidency, that's the one path she has, is she has to get in as VP and serve as VP under a president before going up on the big ticket herself. Let's face it, in the real world, South Dakota is a small state. We don't have that many multi-billionaires here, and it takes that kind of support to get into the big chair. And so she would have to go in as VP and then run after that president is
you
done.
You think your governor, you think your state is small. Look where the current president's from.
Yeah. Although
so here's where I think that goes, Paul. Here's where I think that goes. I think she upsets the apple cart. I think that takes away from the super ticket, the Trump DeSantis super ticket.
Yeah.
And again, that's DeSantis not entering the primary, but being selected afterwards. Now, let them go. Those two go to office together. Let Whitmer get a nice, secretary position, state, defense, something like that, right? And then when DeSantis becomes president, guess who he picks for his vice president?
There you go. Let me get this comment up here, and then we're going to have to get off to real news here in a second. But we've started a.
This is the election season. We're in the election season now, right? We get the election turkey next week, and then we get the election tree in December, right?
Krabby Turtle over the YouTube side says, give Brandon that test they gave and mocked Trump for acing. Yeah. I don't see Biden's team letting him anywhere near a cognitive ability test. I don't see that happening.
Agreed.
Here's an interesting one. He also says 24 Trump/Lake.
I didn't know Ricky Lake was running.
And I don't think she's on our team. I really don't. I don't think freedom is her big thing.
That team. Okay. The freedom team.
Yeah. DeSantis is great. He won't be a VP in my humble opinion.
So here's why. Again, I'll tell you why. The man has the opportunity to be the president for 10 years minus a day. We know Donald Trump wants to be back in office to, one, prove what we all know and what we like to call on our show erection flawed, because if you say it a different way, it gets flagged. So he gets to run again. Then he gets to take office. He gets to not drain the swamp, but he gets to shoot the swamp rats for the first year or two. And then at the end of 2 years, he could say, I want to go be with my grandkids, hand it off to Vice President DeSantis, who serves for 1 day minus 2 years, which means it doesn't count towards a full term. So that cat can be around for 10 years minus a day as president. You may not think it's in your honest opinion, but offer somebody the presidency for 10 years and power in Washington for 12. That's tough to turn down.
Yeah.
That's the right thing to do for the country.
And Krabby Turtle says Carrie Lake. I believe she's Arizona.
Gotcha. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And
yeah.
so we do have real news to get to, real Second Amendment news we need to talk about. Got 2 press releases from SAF. First one I'm going to read part of here. Out of Bellevue, Washington, of course, that's our headquarters. Doctors for Responsible Gun Ownership, a project of the Second Amendment Foundation, has released a new study showing there is no association between increased lawful firearms sales and rates of crime or homicide. The study by DRGO member Mark Hamill, not the actor, he's an MD, FACS FCCM, is titled Legal Firearm Sales at State Level and Rates of Violent Crime, Property Crime, and Homicides, is published in the Journal of Surgical Research. Dr. Hamill worked with a team of 9 other doctors to reach their conclusions. I'm going to go just a little deeper here. Dr. Robert Young, executive editor of DRGO, says this confirms what those of us already know who follow all the research by medical, criminology, and economic experts. Lawful gun possession is in no way related to homicide or other crime rates, and the consistent drumbeat of the anti-gun researchers and activists is a house built on sand. I did go through briefly and read part of this research article. Is calling this research article deep is like way an underestimate. This is Mariana Trench type deep.
Yeah.
This is a really in-depth article. And so I'm glad these things are coming out. I'm glad we have now on our side, when somebody says more guns, do you really want more guns here? Do you really want more guns there? We can say it doesn't matter how many guns are there. It's how many good people are there versus how many criminals are there.
Yeah, absolutely right. Listen, and obviously everybody over there at DRGO, Doctors for Responsible Gun Ownership, and folks, if you don't know them, make sure you go to drgo.us.
Yes.
.us. If you're anything in the medical profession, anything. If you're a candy striper, get in there. If you're a brain surgeon, get in there. If you're Second Amendment, EMTs, paramedics, firemen, anything in the medical world, get in there and contribute to this. They come at it with the not only the knowledge base and research rigor that John Lott does, but these ones are standing down there in the hospitals, in the trenches, in the ambulances, saying, "I could see the results." Okay, no matter what you get somebody up there on the old on the Clinton News Network saying, we're here and we can tell you what happens. We get the story. We're here when the police are doing the interviews. We're there before they are sometimes when they walk in the hospital door. They know what they're doing. More guns equals less crime. It's that simple.
Yes, absolutely. And the other thing I want to bring up, DRGO, a lot of the doctors in there, let's face it, most hospitals throughout the United States are gun-free zones. And so they are forcibly disarmed every day if they want to retain their job, or at the very least they have to go deep, deep, deep cover.
Yeah.
And if they're discovered, see ya.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely right. It's a shame too. Listen, how many times we got to watch a shooting in a hospital? We just saw one in Texas. Texas of all places. There's no, and again, it's left up to, from my understanding, in Texas, it's led up to the ownership of the hospitals. If it's not a public hospital, it's left up to the ownership of the hospitals. And this one that happened 2 weeks ago, where a couple of people were killed, it was a gun-free zone hospital. Got that sign outside. You know, with that mentality, Craig, with that mentality, Paul, what they should do is if a patient comes in, you know, like with the heart attack, right? They should just give them a little sign to hang around the neck that says, you know, heart attack free zone. That should clear the problem.
Yeah, you clear that thing right up. Exactly.
Yep.
Put big signs over the door, death free zone. All of a sudden, anybody that walks in there
you go.
Cheered.
Problem solved. Problem staying solved. There you go. Rangers lead the way. Yep.
All right. Next story, and this one, I'm going to jump down on you here. This one is our second release from the Second Amendment Foundation. Second Amendment Foundation today, and this is from yesterday, but I didn't get it in time to get it on yesterday's show. Second Amendment Foundation today filed a legal lawsuit challenging the constitutionality of Delaware's recently adopted ban on so-called assault weapons, on the grounds legislation known as House Bill 450 violates the Second Amendment. Joining the SAF in this legal action are the Firearms Policy Coalition, and named as a defendant is Delaware Attorney General Kathy Jennings. 1 week after the Supreme Court handed down its landmark Bruin decision in June, noted SAF Executive Director Adam Kraut, Delaware Governor John Carney signed House Bill 450, which we believe is clearly unconstitutional. Yet this new statute categorically bans the protected conduct of possessing, self-manufacturing, transporting, importing, selling, transferring, purchasing, receiving, and lawfully using constitutionally protected arms that are in common use across the nation. I'm going to skip to the end just to get a quote in by Alan Gottlieb. By adopting the statute after the Supreme Court's Bruin ruling, Delaware is clearly ignoring the court and the Second Amendment. This cuts right to the heart of our mission, which is to defend the rights of gun owners by challenging egregious gun control laws in court. This law is extremism on steroids and cannot be allowed to stand. So on this one, man, SAF, and this is common lately, SAF is partnering with Firearms Policy Coalition. We're both filing suit on this one together. I have no doubts in my mind whatsoever this is going to be successful after the Bruin ruling this past June. It's just we got to get the courts to move a little bit.
Yeah, and listen again. It's it's going to depend where, right? We just saw in California, the Ninth Circuit, they had the one case that was sent back down to St. Benitez, and what was rescheduled for like 16 months from now because they were going to let it sit under the injunction order. But listen, Northeast, we're seeing them roll pretty quick. We're seeing New York get smacked down. Even if the SmackDown got a SmackDown, it's on the way to the Second Circuit Court up there. They're rolling quick. This was the big fear, and we all talked about this after the Bruin decision came out. Was I hope it doesn't take 12 or 14 years like Heller and McDonald did to get any movement on them. The Bruin decision was written in such a way where it's an instruction manual to the jurists out there. And now here you go, right? And I think the reason we're seeing so many federal judges now pop out of the woodwork. Remember, we never really saw from a lot of conservative appointed federal judges, stick their nose out like the Democrat judge in Hawaii would every time something would happen. So I think it's because they can lean back and say, listen, I don't have to make a major decision now. All I have to do is open the manual on Second Amendment, thanks to Bruin, and this is my ruling. Don't like it? Go back to the Supreme Court with it. It's that simple. There's nothing to debate for them. Here it is. Here's the standard. I did it. We're done. You're gone. Go back. And I again coming back to the Delaware legislature there. Craig, I called you Craig twice tonight. I apologize, Paul. It's the qualified immunity issue versus total immunity. We give legislators and judges complete immunity. They 100% knew that this was against the Supreme Court's New York State Rifle and Pistol Association Bruin decision, and they still did it anyway. We have to save the children, right? We need better roads. We have to save the children. And so they passed it anyway. If they knowingly pass an unconstitutional law, if a police officer did that and violated the Constitution, they'd be held liable for it.
Yes.
Why does this elected person get more protection than the guy or girl who's out there on the line every day with qualified immunity? Qualified immunity, folks, means I'm immune from civil liability as long as I don't violate the law or violate the Constitution. Yet these elected officials continue to do it and get away with it. We need to change their positions to qualified immunity as well.
You're not getting an argument from me at all. I got to get the right button here. Krabby Turtle says Bruin ruling, nah. New York State Rifle and Pistol Association ruling, if you will.
I'll tell you what. When you can get that down to 1 or 2 syllables, I'll be in. Otherwise, it's a Bruin ruling. And then from New York, it's a 1-syllable word. Bruin.
Ah, well, and even if you take it down to NYSERPA, that's still
right. Yeah. Yeah.
I agree with you, Krabby Turtle, in principle. We always name the case after the winner.
Correct.
However, that's a real big mouthful for somebody that has a challenge communicating after he had a stroke a year and a half ago. So, please forgive me if I do say Bruin from time to time.
Well, I just want to confirm, I'm not a medical professional in this country. You do have a stroke-free zone sign in your room there, right?
Not that I see, but I'm going to.
Please, for our sake.
I'm going to cure that here real quick.
Yeah, there you go.
Larry says, and this is from the Facebook side, what is conspicuously absent in the failures and refusals to act in a judicial manner, according to their oaths, judicial canons, and 2.3 that counts must respect, comply, and follow the law. I think
there's your issue,
backing you up.
Yeah, the problem is, Larry knows this. Folks, you all know this, that conservative justices, rule with the rule of law. They make their decisions based on a rule of law. Liberal judges make their rulings based on personal feelings, emotions, and policy.
Yeah, and that's why I'm so glad we are now past the intermediate scrutiny, strict scrutiny. We're past all that. We're now to text history and tradition. I'm so pleased of that, simply because you can't draw these little squiggly lines and make these big jumps of logic to try and get to, I'm going to rule this way because this. Now, if it's not text history and tradition, it's gone.
There you go. You're seeing great things.
Okay, I got to get this one in there. Get this one in there. Paul could be a Pennsylvania senator.
Oh, come on. No, Paul recovered.
Yes. I'm working on it at least, yes. And I don't have nearly a big enough neck. I'm just
but you're only going to work on that on one side, so just, one set of neck exercises.
I do have the bald head. I mean, I did suffer a stroke that I'm trying to recover from, so I guess if we're just limited to those two things, I suppose I could. I don't know that I'd want the job of senator, man. I don't know if I'd want a nationally elected. I don't even know if I'd want a House member. And I certainly wouldn't want president. Everybody looks at you to solve their problems. And if I were there, I'd be like, let's cut all this. Let's get the government out of everything, because the government screws everything up. So I wouldn't make a very good senator. I'd be, if somebody says we need to raise Medicare, well, why aren't you covered? What did you do with your life? Anyway.
I have a Second Amendment attorney friend. You know him, Paul. I'm not going to throw his name out there. I don't want him getting phone calls in the middle of the day, but He ran for his homeowners association board. He did not want to be on the homeowners association. Told them, I don't like homeowners association. Do not elect me. If you elect me, I'm going to disband this homeowners association. They thought he was kidding. They wanted a lawyer on the board. They elected him as the board president. The first thing he did was disband the HOA.
That's the kind of leader we need in Washington,
That's
D.C.
Right. There
That's
you go.
Absolutely what we need.
Yep.
So if you ever see my name on a ballot, you don't vote for me because I'll just tear the whole thing apart. So next story I want to get to, and this is kind of in depth. This is from crimeresearch.org. That, of course, is Dr. John Lott's organization. Last year, the number of permit holders nationwide continued to grow by about 488,000 at 2.3% growth over 2021. That is the slowest percent and of absolute increase we've seen since we started collecting this data in 2011. Part of that is due to the number of permits declining in constitutional carry states, even though it is clear that more people are legally carrying. And he goes on to list several other things here. 8.5% of American adults have permits. Outside the restrictive states of California and New York, about 10.2% of us have a permit. In 17 states, more than 10% of adults have permits. Since 2019, Arkansas, Oklahoma, and South Dakota have fallen below 10%, but they are now all constitutional carry states, meaning that people no longer need a permit to carry. The concealed carry rates for Connecticut, North Carolina, and Wisconsin have risen to above 10% this year. Connecticut, that surprises me, that 10% of Connecticut citizens have a concealed carry permit.
What's that, like 30 people? I mean, Connecticut's like this big, Paul.
Yeah, well, that's true. Alabama has the highest concealed carry rate at 32.5%. Indiana second with 23.4%. Georgia third with 15.5%. 6 states now have over 1 million permit holders: Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Indiana, Pennsylvania, and Texas. Florida is the top state with 2.57 million permits. And last thing from them, 25 states have adopted constitutional carry for their entire state, meaning that a permit is no longer required. Because of these constitutional carry states, the nationwide growth in permits does not paint a full picture of the overall increase in concealed carry. Many residents choose to still get their permits so they can carry in other states that have reciprocity agreements. But while permits are increasing in the non-constitutional carry states, they fell in constitutional carry states, even though more people are clearly carrying in those states. In 2022, women made up 29.2% of permit holders in the 15 states that provide data by gender, and that's an increase from 28.3% last year. And that's about as far as I'm going to, let's see here. Permit numbers grew 115.4% faster for women than for men of states that provide that data by sex. So these are good numbers, man, and congratulations to Florida for having more people with permits than a lot of states.
Yeah.
Period.
Yep. Listen, I would be willing to bet, and listen, Dr. John Lott does incredible work. As an economist, collected all his numbers and data. I'd be willing to bet that the numbers he cited as the people that carry concealed is probably double at this point. The one thing he didn't examine, he didn't talk about is when you go from a regular regulated state to a constitutional carry state. Paul, the people that carry, the reason they have a license is well, they want to protect themselves, right? But the reason they went and got the license was what was the reason they went and got that license? It was because they wanted to be legal. I want to carry the firearm to protect myself, and I want to be legal. So I don't want to get in trouble with the law. I want to be legal. When you take away that requirement for the license, now all the other people that have been sitting back going, oh, I don't have to get one anymore. Now I could be legal without it. I bet you those numbers doubled in those states. I guarantee it. It's probably off the charts, and we don't even realize it at this point. Florida, we still have to abide by paying this stupid $100 fee and get a license, and we still have like 14-15% of our people that have licenses. When we get constitutional carry here, that number is going to jump to 40 to 50%. I guarantee it.
I was just thinking, I have a South Dakota enhanced permit that is recognized by 40 states. However, I'm going down to Florida in February to help out Kevin Sona with his speakers event that he's got going on.
Right.
I could leave my house and go all the way to the Florida border and not need a permit.
Yeah.
So
very true. Very true.
That's
it's a shame. It's a shame. We're working on it.
And there are, and I remember seeing this, and I was going to bring it up pre-election, but it never got up to the top. There was a Republican that was running for the state legislature in Florida that publicly said before the election, I do not want constitutional carry here.
Yep.
I do not know if he won or not. I do remember it was a him. I do not remember his name. But Florida has a problem with rhinos, at least where it comes to firearms, with rhinos in the state legislature. And
rhinos polite. It's called cowards, is what they are. But remember, it's been since 1986, so we're talking about 38 years since Florida has had an open carry or a different set of firearm laws. That's when we came out with the concealed carry. We gave up open carry for concealed carry. We're promised to get it back a year later. That's it. So guns have now been this hidden thing in Florida for 38 years. That's 2 generations nearly. So for 2 generations, every person in this state's been brainwashed that if you see a gun, it's a bad gun. It's bad things going to happen. And that's why they're cowards and they're afraid to deal with it. You can't look outside the state and see that, wow, 46 other states seem to have no problem with open carry, and 25 states have constitutional carry. And yet, they haven't burned to the ground. It's amazing.
Yeah. I'm really expecting the next 2 states, I think, that will jump on board with constitutional or permitless carry, as I prefer to call it. The next 2 states will be Florida and Nebraska.
Yeah.
Beyond that, we'll have to wait and see.
I think Florida will get it, because if they don't, there's going to be a lot of politicians with a DeSantis boot up their ass.
All right. Well, hey, man, we are over on our time. So we're going to have to go ahead and set it aside here, man. But on our way out the door, please plug the Rundown and please plug your Saturday show and anything else you want to plug, man.
Yeah, hey, the rundown.com, it's .us, rundown.us. Go there. You can watch us on, anywhere you watch YouTube videos or podcasts, you can catch the Rundown myself and Craig DeLuz, who I called for twice today. Evidently, my eyes aren't working today. And then, of course, on the weekend, Saturday, 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time, Arms Room Radio. Go to armsroomradio.com. Listen there. Find out where we are. Been on 8 years, rolling into the 9th. Having a great time.
Very, very cool. On my side, I'm going to say please do come join me 5 p.m. Central Time tomorrow. It'll be Alex Uli in the commentator seat. We'll be talking our regular Legal Friday episode. We'll be talking about legal aspects of court decisions and all that. And Saturday, come join us noon Central Time. And I just had that up. Let me go back over here and see. My team this Saturday is going to be a good one. It is Beth Alcazar, Alex Uli will be coming back both Friday and Saturday, and Dan Waz will be the people discussing the week in review on Saturday. So, anyway, that's going to do it for us today. Mike, again, thanks for taking time out of your day today, and that's it, everybody. We'll see you next time.